I hope everyone's ready to have a magical time racing to the top in Team 11's Network multiplayer game. Team 9.
Hello everyone. Yes. Okay. We're the Wacky Wizards, and this is going to be our game, Wizard Rush. I'm Jamie. I'm the producer and a programmer.
I'm Ludwig, the programmer.
I'm Desmond, I'm a programmer.
I'm Emily, an artist.
I'm Laura, I'm also an artist.
I'm Frederick, the sound designer.
And this is going to be straight into our gameplay demo. I hope you enjoy.
2, 1.
Okay, so we originally are brainstorming. We really wanted to start off with a one-on-one game in which you battled your friends, and we wanted to incorporate offense and defense. We really wanted to have that two-sided factor, so it was not just straight offense or straight defense. That eventually evolved into our initial pitch, which was a multiplayer PC game in which you and your friends battle, and you wanted to climb, avoid obstacles, and fight your friends using spells and different orientations, which eventually evolved into our gameplay loop.
And our gameplay loop was very simple at the start. We wanted players to climb the tower, and along the way there would be obstacles in their way. So there would be environmental hazards in the level, and on top of that, of course, as a multiplayer game, other players are trying to impede you from climbing the tower. When you're climbing the tower, the whole goal is to get to the scroll. And once you get the scroll and bring it back, you can deposit it in the library at the bottom of the tower, at which point you'll win the round. This whole loop will repeat until players have won enough rounds, and they'll eventually win the game. And with that gameplay loop and initial pitch, the whole skeleton established, we began our development stage, and we started with the art.
So first we started to design the wizards right. We thought it looked a little too young at first, so we decreased the head to body ratio. And we also made the robe a little more realistic. And here's some of our color variations for our wizards. Next, for the animations, here are some of our initial animations and also the evolution of our running animation. One main challenge we faced here was finding references for the fabric movement. And to address this, we had to pull many references together, such as wizard movies, and also making our own references. Here are some of our initial tile map and icons. Unfortunately, most of these were scrapped due to changes in color palette and also time constraints.
Level design was one of the first steps we took in the art development process. As you can see in the black and white drawing, we first developed the overall layout of the level, as well as all the obstacles and the player movement. Then we implemented this into Unity using tile maps. And for the background, one of the main challenges we faced was the color palette. As you can see, we initially started with more of a blue-gray monotone color palette. However, we eventually decided to shift it to more of a brown color palette, but it got too murky, so we scrapped it and ended up with a color palette that had more purple and yellow tones.
As a multiplayer game, the players need to be able to interact with each other, and the main way they do that is through spells. We have a completely customizable loadout, so there's a list of 6 spells that you can choose from at the start of the game, and you can pick 3 of them in order to use in the game. These spells are split into 2 main categories. There's offensive spells, which are used to harass other players, basically, and there's movement spells, which are used to help you get up the tower. These spells are going to be shown right here. So we have Fireball. You can throw a fireball, which will knock other players back. There's Lightning, which stuns players for a short time. There's Wind, which again knocks players back in a radius around you. Geyser, which launches you upwards and helps you climb the tower. Vines, which you can climb and also block projectiles. And then Gravity, which is hell. It reverses gravity around you.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about something about sound design. So at the beginning, we first created the sound for the spells. For example, the fireball. Oh, this is lightning. And the gravity reverse. And the fireball. Okay, and we also have some voice lines for these different spells. Wizard will test the name of these spells when they use these spells. Fireball. Geyser, gravity reverse. Alright, this is how we record it. Okay, and we also have some SFX that can only heard by the player itself. For example, we have the sound for button clicking and also the sound for switching between the different spells. And we also created the music for the interesting and the gameplay music. And because our game is a party happy game, so the theme of this game should be happy and easy. So we have the jazzy and electronic music style. But because it is too long, so I'm not going to play it now.
At this point, we got a lot of feedback after the interim presentations and also from a lot of play testing. We really wanted to improve our level design, make our art a bit more coherent, and make the whole game feel a bit more intuitive. So this is what we did with that feedback.
So first, for the art part, we finished all our animations, and since we made some changes to level design, we also made animations for our new obstacles.
And then for the background, we made new assets such as the window and the column, and then we also applied that to the background inside the game. And we also created 2 new tile maps, such as the gradient tile map and the normal brick tile map.
We also finished our UI screens. Here's our title screen and win screen, and also our tutorial screens. We also made a spell rotator, a height tracker, spell selection buttons, and a library.
Okay, so getting into level design, like as Jimmy mentioned, we got a lot of feedback. We initially had all these different types of levels, and we wanted to incorporate a programming system that allowed for us to switch levels. That was over scope, and we had to scrap it all. So as you see on the right here, or it would be your left. So on the left here, you can see your concept art, and that's where we kind of started. And then we had this whole level planned out with a bunch of diversity, but then we realized that the players, it didn't engage combat enough. They could just simply climb to the top, and then all of a sudden, someone grabs the scroll and the game's over like that. So we really need to incorporate some, and that's where obstacles came in. We have the mushroom, the cauldron, spikes, ladders, and other obstacles within the game that allow the players to really engage in combat, get stuck in different areas, incorporating that combat aspect. That later evolved into what we incorporated as player death. So when we got into player death, we initially started with checkpoints, so that players could die to something like a cauldron or spikes, and they could respawn and still be in the game. And then we came up with a problem. There was a player function which players could just simply camp at the bottom, wait for someone to grab the scroll, and sit there. So we need to fix that. So a simple way of fixing that is that the player at the bottom dies when the player at the top touches the scroll. This forces the players at the very bottom to then climb their way to the top, forcing combat and forcing them to really drive their way to the top. Upon dying, the player will be translated to a spectating screen, and they'll be able to switch between players, and they will be out for the whole round.
In order to improve some of the intuitiveness of the game, one of the complaints from playtesting was that the camera was really too small. You couldn't see what was going on in the rest of the level. And so we had this height tracking UI implemented. So now you can see where all the players are on the tower, as well as where the scroll is on the tower, so you know where your goal is and what you're trying to get to. On top of that, as Desmond mentioned before, we kill the lowest player if the scroll is collected, and so you've got an exclamation mark next to your icon if you're in danger of dying.
So after that, we have added some sound for these different game objects, like the cauldron and the broom. And when the player gets closer to these obstacles in the scene, they can hear the sound. Okay, and we also have some sound for the players themselves. For example, when the player jumps, there will be a specific sound. And also when the player is hit by a fireball or a lightning, they will make like an ouch sound. Okay, and we also have added the wind music, which is a music you hear back in the demo video. And the wind music have 2 different parts, and when the player grabs the scroll and gets closer to the library door, the wind music will play its first part, and the volume will increase as the scroll gets closer to the library door. And when the closer touches the library door, the wind music will play its second part with the drum beats and also some synthesizer sound.
So, lastly, every player wanted to be able to differentiate themselves, so we added in robe colors, and this is how the system worked. So firstly, we start off with 2 base sprites, one which is just like the wizard doing his thing, and another which is like the face and the legs. Next, we tint one of the sprites to whichever color we wanted using code, and now when we put the 2 of them together, we get a completely unique wizard robe color using just 2 sprites, which we could use throughout the game whenever we wanted to make any color we wanted. So, yeah.
And with these new wizard colors, we had 6 unique wizards, and we decided the best part of this, we're going to name our wizards. We each got our own wizard. And so here is the introduction to our wizards.
So I'm Desmond, I'm Silly the Willy.
I'm Ludwig, my wizard's name is Greg.
I'm Jamie, I got Bartholomew.
I'm Laura, I'm Vincent.
Oh, I'm Emily, I'm Fruity Dragon.
Frederick called it, I control the rules of nature.
Thank you so much for listening to the presentation.